Hello and welcome to today's webinar for the product update for Just Planet for June 2021. A small bag of goodies to tide you over. As always, some preliminary information. This is a GoToWebinar. All attendees are automatically muted so that we don't get bothered by any background noises except my own. But if you do have questions, please ask them via the chat box of the GoToWebinar software. As always, my name is Jan Vierguts. I am the development lead for Just Planet. And as I said, this release is more as a small amends with small enhancements for you while we work on two major projects for JPI. And I'm just going to tell you what they are. I can't show you anything yet, but they are set to release with the next big release for Just Planet. And the first part of that and the major part for you guys will be the resource usage, which will be a new addition to resource group constraints that will allow you to set how much of a resource is used by this task. For example, if you have a couple of tasks that fully work out on a machine, but you have 10 of those machines, you can simply say, okay, for this machine, it takes the entire resource. But the operator that is also necessary to overlook how the machine is progressing can basically monitor 10 of those at once. So you give the specific task a secondary resource for the operator and set that to 0.1, and then that operator knows with a capacity of 0.1 only being set for the task, can basically work on 10 of those tasks at a time. But we'll get into more detail how this works and what you need to do in the next release when we actually push this out. And the other major project we're currently working on is more of an internal one. We are changing the graphical component, creating the Gantt charts and graphs, which we're using to present the graphics for you. And this is also entirely developed in-house in our company. And with this change, we enable ourselves to access a lot of new possibilities and hopefully performance upgrades that we currently can't achieve. But those are two major projects, and these do take a lot of work, so which is why we can't put them out into basically 1 month-long sprint. But we didn't want to leave you hanging and prepared, as we called it, a small bag of goodies for you to tide you over until the big releases are done. So let's take a look what we have for you. And what we see here is a standard Just Planet in the resource group view, and we see here there are a lot of finished tasks, and we're currently working, so the plan looks good. The problem is if you now want to start focusing on planning. And to do that, you open up the resource here and see, first of all, the list of stuff you don't care about while planning the past. So you do need to scroll down to find, okay, what's currently running, and then you can actually focus on what you want to focus on. And if we scroll down a bit, we see same issue on basically all machines. The first thing we get, because this is ordered by the finish date, or more specifically by the start date, first a long list of finished tasks before we get to the part for the planning. What we can do now is, with a simple click in the Understand Schedule tab on this icon, hide all information. And as we now see, this did get a lot shorter, which is why we lost our place. There are no more finished tasks being shown. They are not deleted from your system. They are just hidden from view so that you can focus on a clean plan with just the planning for you. And if we scroll down, take a look at the other resource, we see no issues here. If we open this up, we do see still worked on things, so started things are still shown, but no finished anymore. Now we scrolled a bit down, and here's a secondary update that we also did. We added this new icon here, also under Understand Schedule, which will bring you back up to the top of the plan with one click. So if you know you want to see the top of the plan, here's small shortcut. Now we're still hiding the finished tasks, and if we now switch into the job view, we see this is done here also. So if I open this up, we see this starts with task 040 and the packing. And it seems to be highly unusual that this only results in packing. So if we show the finished task, then we see, okay, yeah, there were a couple of steps before that. And so in this view also, same decision you can make. Do you want to see everything or just want to see what is currently still being worked on or what needs to be worked on? Then next topic, while we're still in the job view, what we also added is an enhancement to a long-standing feature regarding the critical sequence number. So if we take a look here in the set sequence number dialog, we still have the option for the get minimum sequence number and the get critical sequence number. Now, quick update or quick reminder, the get minimum sequence number results in the lowest sequence or the highest sequence number from your position downward, in which you move the bar a bit to the left. So the process finishes a bit earlier. This does not mean it will finish on time. It may, but it does not guarantee. To guarantee that it's finished on time, you want the critical sequence number. And also a quick reminder, this works in both directions. This not only tells you when a specific job has to be positioned with a lower sequence number, so a higher priority to get it done when it's not, but it also works downwards. So if you have a already on-time job, it also tells you how low you can go with it still being on time. But this is functionality that we had before. What we do now is help you make a decision a bit better. So if you take a look down here at the table, and probably will get a bit easier if I simply get data, and I'm going to get both data points here. So we can see my minimum speed up sequence number is number 30, so one down, no surprise there. But now we also inform you, okay, if you do this, you have currently 20 jobs over due date, and you will still have 20 jobs over due date if you do this. But the current sum of times over due date, which is presented here in my settings in minutes, will lower a bit. And if we take a look at the critical sequence number values, we lose or we gain and we either lose one job over due date or win one that is now on time, depending on how you view it. And we also see that the sum of times over due date reduces significantly. This is a helpful tool because moving sequence numbers or jobs higher up in the priority list can incur impacts on the rest of your schedule that you could not foresee beforehand. And with these two new informations, we at least give you a hint of what might happen. Okay, now let's actually do this. Let's put this onto the critical path. And we can see now, hey, hooray, it worked. We've lost this overdue. Now let's take a look what we can do here. Only looking for the critical. And I can see here, okay, I can get this now to be on time, but I have no change in the number of jobs over due date. So this tells me immediately, okay, if I do this, I get this one on time, but I know something else will be late. And so you can make a decision here, and if you want to risk it, so if we do, can now see, okay, now this one is overdue. So with this, we help you make a bit more informed decisions here. And we think that this is a really great addition for this functionality specifically. Now, while we are in the Just Planet client, we also added a new feature in the user management. And that new feature you can find in the user details. So you go to settings, the user management, and the edit button if you are an admin or super admin. And what you can set up now is the resources for a given user. And this is functionally identical to what we had already, but just for the operators. For operators, you could select specific resources that they were allowed to see. And now we extended this to also apply to planners and viewers. So for example, if you have a sales department that only needs to know when the last steps of any given job is done, basically when they're done packing, you could then go ahead and say, okay, I know that worker 8, 9, and 10 do the packing for me, and say, okay, this user only needs to see those resources to make their job easier. So if we switch back, we see I have a lot less tasks here. And if I switch to the resource group view or the resource view, I can see, okay, I can only see the resource groups that the select workers, and as we can see, my workers here are multi-purpose workers. They also work on the saw, the surface treatment, and the edge bender, but I do only see the resources I selected. And therefore, I can really narrow down on what I need to see. And as the example I've given, this could be useful for a sales department because they don't need to know the inner workings of the shop floor, but need to know when things are done. Or if you work with multiple planners, you could also use this to basically make it that each planner only sees the people or machines they are responsible for. And with this setting, we imagine that you would be able to really make the plan only show what's necessary for their respective workers. If you want to see everything, you could either go select all or select nothing. I'd suggest selecting nothing because selecting all would mean that if at some point something is added as a resource, this is not selected, you won't see it. So if you need to see everything in the plan all the time, just deselect everything. Okay, that's it basically for the main client. We also did one thing that will not be for everyone, but will be, or we thought we should close the last open page in the API. We have endpoints for basically everything except for the general settings. And now we do. Now you are also able to set general settings through our API through the settings endpoint. And I'm here at api.justplanet.com, the standard API documentation page where you can take a deeper look into this. And as you can see, we have a get and a patch. As always, there's no create because you can't create new settings. You can only update what is already there. And if we take a quick look, remember, if you do this on this page, you need to copy over your API key from your user settings. I've done that already here. And if I now query my settings, we can see here, okay, I get basically all the general settings of my plan for now, except the setup of the tooltips. And of course, setups that are user specific are not shown here. As I said, that's why I'm talking about general settings the entire time. And if we can see here, okay, we know the job custom field 1 is planned, the task custom field 1 is color, and just to check that this actually is my setup, if we go to the custom field definition, you can see here, this is planned, this is color, and even if I update this here, simply saying the default is red, let it run, and if I now get the values again, we can see this is my actual account. We did get the update here, and we could also do this as a set through the API. With those 5 things, we come already to a close for today. As I said, this is just a small bag of goodies to tide you over, but we do still think that those are really nice additions to existing functionality. We really hope you enjoy what we have now and are as excited as we are for what's coming up. And with this, now, I thank you very much for your kind attention. If you do have any questions, I will be here for a couple of minutes to answer them. Otherwise, see you next time and happy scheduling.